Okay. No. Around the bottom of 72 B. In Bais. We learned in the Mishnah that Kmitza, the scoop, is done on all Menachos. Basically all Menachos. Except for a Minchas Kayan, which the Tanakama said that it's not. And Reb Shimon holds that a Kayan that brings a Korban Minchas Chayte, he does Kmitza, even though it gets burned. But he does Kmitza and he burns them both. That's what we learned. We're discussing how do we know that the leftovers of a mincha is eaten by a kayan. Most menachos are eaten by a kayan, with some exceptions, but how do we know this? So we said, what's the problem? It says in the pasuk, so the Gemara says, no, that's not our question. Our question was, that pasuk is talking about wheat, menachos that are brought from wheat. The question was barley. So I said, well, if you do kmitza on it, so then automatically the rest is eaten. They said, yeah, that we know according to the Rabbanan, but our question was according to Reb Shimon, who holds that you can do kmitza and you still don't eat it because you burn what's left over anyway. So our question is barley. How do you know that it's eaten? So we quoted a pasuk. The pasuk says, "V'chol mincha belula b'shemen v'chareva, v'chol b'nei yaron tiyah." Since that pasuk is not necessary, the pasuk means that any mincha that's mixed with oil, or if it's dry, to the sons of Aaron it should be. Since it's not necessary to say that pasuk, because we already explained that before, so we say so we'll apply it to barley. On the second to bottom line, the Gemara asks, "V'hai," in this pasuk, "L'hachi u'de'asa." That's what it's coming to tell me. The assumption is that a pasuk can only be teaching one thing. And if this pasuk is needed for something else, so it can't teach me this halacha about that a barley mincha the remnant is eaten by a kain. And we're going to show that we used it somewhere else. Haimi ba'ilei, it's necessary. Look at the Tanya for what it was taught in the Braisa. Minayin, from where do we know? Shein cholkim menachos k'neged zvachim. What would happen is that the kayanim that were working in the temple, it was divided into 24 families. Now each family was divided into 7 Bais Avs, it's called. Like cousins probably. Each section of cousins would serve one day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Now, the ones that were serving would be doing the service, and then they would be dividing up whatever was there to eat from the sacrifices. So how was the division made? So the Gemara discusses here. How do you know that you don't divide menachos k'neged zvachim? You don't say, look, you take the menachos, all the, what's it called? Because you're a vegetarian or something. So you take all of the meal offerings, and I'm on the Atkins diet or something. So I'll take all of the meat. So you don't do that. Rather, how do you do it? You divide each thing separate. Each thing gets its own division. Everyone gets a piece of each. So how do you know that? Talmud Laimar, pasuk says, "V'chol mincha asher tiachid betana l'chol b'nei yaron tiyah yesh ki yachiv." Pasuk says that any mincha, or all menachos that are baked in the oven, to all the sons of Aaron, they should be a man like his brother. There's actually a jump in the pasuk. It's skipped a few psukim. It gives me the beginning of the pasuk, and then it gives me the end of the next pasuk. Okay, but we learn from that it all gets divided up independently. We're on top of 73. Ayin Gimel. Yochel maybe leyichalke menachos k'neged zvachim. We just said that you don't divide. You don't say you take the meal offerings and someone else will take the zvachim. Why? Shlei kama tachteim b'dalos. Because there's a certain sacrifice that if you can't afford to bring the animal sacrifice, so you bring birds. If you can't afford the birds, so you bring, there's 3 stages, so then you bring the meal offering. So you say, okay, so we don't jump from animal offerings down to menachos. That's not the replacement. Why don't you do that? Because you're skipping a step, so therefore you're not going to divide it. You take the zvachim and someone else takes the menachos. Aval yechalke menachos k'neged oifos. But because these are so closely related, because it's a direct replacement for it, if someone can't afford the birds, he brings the meal offering. So because someone that's poorer will bring the meal offering instead. So maybe you could just divide that. You take the birds, and someone else will take the meal offering. Talmud Laimar, the pasuk says, "V'chol nasa b'marcheshas." Anything that's made in a marcheshas, was the deep pan. Now, how does that show me? It's just an extra pasuk. It's an extra pasuk that tells me that the mincha itself is divided. It's not a mincha is given to one and the oif is given to another. That extra point there. I should explain that if you look at the pasuk, I don't know if you have it in your Gemara. I have in my Gemara the psukim quoted, the full pasuk. The pasuk says, "V'chol mincha shetiyafa betaner." Any mincha that's baked in an oven. Then it lists again, "V'chol nasa b'marcheshas." Any mincha that's made in a deep pan. V'al machavas, and on a flat pan. It says, "Lakayin hamakar v'yisalesia." It belongs to the kayin that brings it. V'chol mincha b'lul b'shem, and then it lists another one. Any mincha that's mixed with oil. V'chareva, or if it's dry. L'chol b'nei Aaron tiyah ishkechav. To all the sons of Aaron it should be a man like his brother. Then the pasuk goes on and it talks about the carbon taida. Imal taidi akriveno, and it does again. Okay, so what we just did is to explain why you don't divide a mincha. One takes a mincha, one takes the animal offering. We started at the beginning of the pasuk. V'chol mincha shetiyafa betaner. To say that it doesn't go again with birds, it does the next line of the pasuk. V'chol nasa b'marcheshas. In other words, there's extra things here, extra words. Each one is coming to tell me another stage in this. Maybe you don't divide. One takes the meal offering and one takes the birds. You don't do that because one of them has blood and the other one is flour. However, yechalku oifes k'neged zvachim. But birds could be divided with meat, right? One will take the birds, one will take, they're both fleshik. Shehalala v'alala minidam, they both have blood, right? So, Talmud Laimar v'al machavas, l'chol b'nei Aaron tiyah. It tells me the next stage of the pasuk, v'al machavas. Yachal le'yechalku oifes k'neged zvachim, shalalo asyasim b'yad, v'alalo asyasim b'kelim. Maybe you shouldn't divide it, zvachim with birds, sacrifices with birds, animal sacrifices, because this one's done by hand, which is the bird is slaughtered with the fingernail. But if there's, let's say, several menachos are brought, you take one mincha, I'll take the other mincha. It's exactly the same type. What's the difference with that? She'elu ve'elu asyasim biyad, because these and these are done by hand. They have this story with these two bachrim that would go to a table, tag. They would eat tag. The yeshivas didn't serve food, so they would go to balabatim's houses to eat. So they would always fight over the portions. Each one. Finally, the balabas was getting frustrated. He figured out a solution, how to get them. They should stop fighting. The solution was one of the boys cuts it, and the other one gets to choose which one he wants. So. So that's for sure. It's going to be exact. So here, it said 1 second. You have two menachas. It's exactly the same thing. We say no. Maybe that's only saying because it's not exactly the same thing. Because one is on a machavas and one is on a marcheshes. One's on a flat pan, one's on a deep pan. Marcheshes keneged machavas. And you shouldn't divide the deep pan for the flat pan. Because this, what it produces is hard, and this one produces is soft. But if it's exactly the same meal offering, that you can divide. You take one and I'll take the other. By the way, it's its own call. Yitzi, did Yitzi want to be called? So far, we've been discussing menachos and sacrifices. But maybe you could divide kachim kalim, like shlamims and things like that. Like man, like his brother, and then it tells me the pasuk after that, Vimal Toida, Ishka Achiv. After the verses that we read before, the next pasuk is about a Toida. So, and a Toida is kachim kalim. It's of lesser holiness. So we're going to read the end of the previous pasuk together with the next pasuk, Ishka Achiv Vimal Toida. So that tells me that even for kachim kalim, it's divided. Each piece is divided up for the kainim of that group. Now it goes on and it says ish chaylek. A man divides. A kayin that's a balmum, although he can't do the service, although he has a blemish that whatever it is, some disform or something on his body that he's lefty. Or a lefty, okay, that's an easy one. Or he can't stand the sun, because that was considered a mum in the temple, because there was no roof. So he can't do the service, but he still gets a portion like everyone else. It's not that he eats from other people's portion. He's part of the division. When they divide it up, he's part of the division. But a child, even if he has no mum, and he could be there in the temple, and he doesn't do the service, but he doesn't get a division either. He could eat if someone wants to give him, but he doesn't get a portion. Now, this was a long brisa, and it was brought to ask a question. The question was, we have to go back to remember what's the question. The question was, the yeshiva bacher that says, I figured out such a good question. I figured out such a good answer. Now I have to find the question. So the question was that this pasuk, we were using it to teach me that a barley offering is eaten by kayanim, right? And we quoted this pasuk of V'chol min chabul b'Hashem v'chareva. We said, how can you use it to teach me that a barley offering is eaten by kayanim? It comes to teach me V'chol min chabul b'Hashem v'chareva is coming to teach me that the menachos are divided equally, not exchanged one for another, that one takes one takes the other. So the pasuk is used to tell me the division, not to tell me that it's eaten by the kain. Well, how could it teach me both? So the Gemara now answers, Hahu. This brisa that we're quoting here, mikol nafka, it's using the word kol. There's an extra word kol, and that it's actually called by each phrase. Kol mincha v'chol nasa macheshes v'chol mincha blul b'Hashem. So because the word kol is the one that's being used, that's extra. The Gemara says kol is extra. V'afixelik to Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda. We used the word kol for Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda needed the word kol to tell me. Like on Samach Gimel. Let's see if I have it here. No, it's I don't have it here. On Samach Gimel, let me look at yours. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda, the Gemara said, holds like his father. How do we know that he can't bring 5 and 5 5 breads and 5 wafers, not like Reb Shimon holds that you're allowed to. How do you know that? So, because he uses the word kol to teach me that. That word kol taught me that. So how can you tell me that using the word kol? Kol is used for Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda. There's a vav, extra vav. Okay. Ravina Amar. Ravina says, Asya midatani Levi. We're going to learn from what Levi taught. Levi, it's assumed by the historians, is the father of Rabbi Shua ben Levi. He was a student of Rabbi. And
he became paralyzed.
Is that what happened?
He tried to show how you do something with his thumb, something.
Yeah.
And
He put his hand. Yeah, right. Right. Where did we have that? We had that in Zvachim? Oh.
And he hurt his back. Something like that.
Yeah, I remember something like that. Okay, so Levi taught in a brisa.
Doing some push-ups.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
What was he say? What were they saying? How they? What did they do? What did the Kohanim do? Do you remember?
I don't know, but I know they stuck their thumbs on the ground and they started to do some, like a stand-up or something. I don't know what they were trying
Going
to
the
show.
other way. Money's going
So, the brises can quote first or second generation Amiraim as well. It's not only Tanaim. The Mishnayos are all Tanaim, but even in Pirkei Avos, the last parak of Pirkei Avos is a brisa. Shanu Chachamim b'lashon Mishnah. They taught this brisa in the language of the Mishnah. Reb Meir, that's the chapter 6 of Pirkei Avos. It's not a Mishnah. It's not Mishnayos. It's a brisa. And in that chapter we have Rabbi Shua ben Levi, who is Levi is a student of Rabbi. That means he's already an Amira, and his son Rabbi Shua ben Levi. You know. So okay, so Midatani Levi. Ravina says we learned it from brisa that Levi taught. L'chol karbanam, l'chol minchasam, l'chol chatasam, l'chol hashamim. We have this pasuk. This is after Kairach. It's discussing all the gifts that the Kohanim get. So it goes through the gifts. L'chol karbanam, l'Rabbi Slik Shem and Shem Mitzvah, that the Kohanim get the oil that's left over after the Mitzvah does his purification process, and the oil is put on his thumbs. What do you do with the rest of the oil? It goes to the Kohanim. Sal Kedai Kamina. It could have entered my mind to say Min Ha'esh, that it's from only things that are from the fire, because it starts off. The word before the words that were just quoted says from the fire. It's a Kasav Rachman. Minaish Kasav Rachmana. So Kamash Malan comes to tell me that even though the oil was not put on the fire, but nevertheless the Kohanim get it. L'chol minchasam, l'Rabbis minchas ha'omer, u minchas kanais. See barley offerings, 2 barley offerings that are given to the Kohanim. This is Ravina's explaining what the source is. Sal kedai t'chamina, could have entered my mind to say va'achlu eisam ashekupa behem, that they will eat them. The pasuk says they will eat them what they're atoned for. In other words, that the Kohanim eat and the owners get atoned. So Amar Rachmana, that's what Hashem says. One of these sacrifices is brought not to atone, but to permit everyone to eat the new grain. That's the Omer sacrifice, permitting the Chadash. And the other one is to show if the woman is guilty or not. It's not to atone. It's not an atonement. It doesn't fix any problem if she's guilty. It's just there to clarify if she's guilty. So, Kamash Malan, it comes to tell me that the Kohanim eat that as well. L'chol chatasam, the Rabbi's chatasayif. It's coming to include that the Kohanim can eat the chatasayif, the bird that's brought as a sin offering. Sal kedai t'chamina, could have entered my mind to say nevelahi, that it's actually just the carcass. It's not shechted. It's used the fingernail. And now we didn't say oila saif because oila saif is burnt. It's not eaten. But the chatasayf, there's two sacrifices that the fingernail is used, either oilasayf or chatasayf. The oilasayf is burnt. The chatasayf is eaten. So I could have thought that it's a service. This is what you do in the temple, but it doesn't mean that they eat it. So kamash malan that they eat it.
How do you shecht a bird to eat?
You use a knife. Here they use the fingernail and they push it through the back of the neck.
So a regular bird to eat, you use a knife.
Yeah. So, and you shecht from the other side. So this would be a treifa. This would be or a nevela, to break the neck before you sever the pipes. L'chol hashamam. What's the pasuk telling me for all the guilt offerings? L'Rabbi Sashem Nazir Vashem Mitzayra. To include when the Nazir becomes purified, not purified, when the Nazir finishes his Nazirus, and the Mitzayra, when the Mitzayra becomes purified, that the Kohanim eat that. The Gemara asks, Hashem Mitzayra behed yiksiv be, ki kachatas ha'ashem ula kohen. The pasuk says that. You don't need l'chol hashamam to bring that in. I have a clear pasuk that writes that. El Rabbi Hashem Nazir kashem Mitzayra. It's coming to include that a Hashem Nazir, the Nazir's sacrifice, is also eaten. Sal kadait chamina, could have meant in my mind to say lahach shekasi. It's just coming to allow him to become tamei, or to drink wine, because the Nazir is not allowed to become tamei or drink wine. And now that his Nazirus is finished, now he's allowed to. So Kamash Malan comes to teach me that the Kayanim eat that. Asher Yoshivu, what's the problem? That they return to him. What is this talking about? Zeg Gezel Ager. There's a special halacha that if you don't know the owner of something that was stolen, so you give it back to a relative. But let's say you have someone who doesn't have any relative. You say, how's it possible he doesn't have a relative? He's got to have a distant cousin. If you go trace him all the way back to Yaakov Avinu, he's got to have a distant cousin. He said, no, we're talking about a convert that doesn't have any cousins, because he converted on himself and he doesn't have children. So who gets that? So it says that is given to the Kohanim. If someone stole and wants to return it, and the convert already passed away, so who gets that? It goes to the Kohanim. L'chahi ulavanecha, shalchahi ulavanecha. It belongs to you and to your sons. What does it mean that it belongs to you? Afilu l'kadosh b'yis ishi, even to use it to marry a woman. That's
this
it.
This is if he stole and he swore falsely, not just regular stealing. He swore falsely. He says, I don't know you anything, and then he has to bring a korban. So normally if you steal, you don't have to bring a korban.
Yeah, the korban is if you swore.
He swore falsely, right.
Weren't there two parshias there? It's the parsha shlach, right?
Yeah.
One was the korban for swearing falsely,
Okay.
and the other one was the gezel ager. We asked if someone steals from a convert.
Just stealing, you don't have to bring a korban.
No, we're not talking about the korban. We're talking about the money that gets returned, but there's no ger. Who does it go to? It goes to the kohanim. The kohanim can use it for even to marry a woman. In other words, it becomes so much there as private property. Yeah. So, the other portion there is talking about, there's two parshas. One is talking about a sacrifice that's brought for someone that swears falsely. There's a discussion in the commentaries what this Gemara means when it says Afila Kadosh B'Yisha. Is it referring to only the last case, Gezel Ager, or is it referring to all the sacrificial foods here that he's allowed to eat? Because the halacha is that you should not use sacrificial foods to marry a woman, even though it would probably be a good marriage. Yeah. Okay. There's two ways of learning this Gemara. Amar Rav Huna. Rav Huna says, Shalmei ha'ivdei kichavim eilis. if a non-Jew offers a peace offering, normally a peace offering is eaten. But if it comes from a non-Jew, it's entirely burnt. It's an Eily. Eily is an offering that's consumed on the Mizbeach. Now, this is Rav Huna discussing this. Rav Huna says, Iba yasei mikrav, Iba yasei misvara. I could bring you a pasuk, and I can also give you logic to explain why this is so. Iba yasei misvara starts with the logic. A non-Jew, when he sends an offering, he's not going to support the Kohanim in the temple. He's bringing it to God. So he has no intention for it to be eaten. He would be like disillusioned with the service. I sent it to the temple, and the Kohanim, the people over there, the workers, started eating it. So that's the svara.
That's the only offering he can bring, the peace offering.
We're going to see. He can bring other offerings. It's a machlekes, Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Yisrael, we'll see. But when he sends a peace offering, it's not eaten. That's this Rav Huna says. I had an interesting thing where someone, there was a gemach, a giveaway, and someone that wanted to convert wanted to get something from the giveaway. And the question was, the people that are donating to it, are they donating it to the Jewish community, or would they mind that someone that's not converted yet would be taken from it?
You have to miss a ger, yeah.
Not a ger yet.
He's not a ger yet.
Well, there's a machlekes. If a haftam as a ger applies before the gerus, that's a machlekes. Rabbi Yerucham official Palav brings a raya that it does apply before, but other places don't say that. And the question is, what's in the person's mind? So here we're saying that when a non-Jew sends a sacrifice, what's in his mind? His mind was not for the Kohanim to eat. His mind was to get offered up to heaven. Iba yasei makra, or we can say it's a pasuk. It says, "Asher yakrivu laHashem," that they offer to Hashem la'olah. Called the Mekarvi Eila lehevi. Whatever they offer becomes a Eila. Okay. Masav Rav Chama Bar Guria. Rav Chama Bar Guria is also a Talmud of Rav, a friend of Rav Huna. It says, Oivit kichavim shes nadiv lahavi shlamim. He's quoting a Brisa, or Tesefta in Shkalim. It says, a non-Jew that offers to bring a peace offering, Nasan li Yisrael, if he gives it to a Jew to bring it, Yisrael Eichlan. The Jew, a peace offering is eaten by the owners, and it's eaten by the Kohanim, and part of it's offered on the Mizbeach. That's why it's called a peace offering. Everyone gets a portion. So Nasan l'Kohen, but if he gives it directly to a Kohen, so HaKohen Eichlan, then the Kohen eats it. It's a direct contradiction to the statement of Rav Huna. Rav Huna said if a non-Jew sends a peace offering, it's totally burnt.
But the Kohen never eats a korban.
Right. You can't have. I'm not sure if it's because of oral or something. I'm not sure. Amar Rava. Rava explains.
Let's go back for a second. This pasuk that he uses a proof, Asher Yakrivu Hashem, is in what context?
Okay. The pasuk says, "Daber al Aaron vel banav vel kol bnei Yisrael v'martalim ishish mi Bais Yisrael min hager b'Yisrael asher yakrivu korbanai l'chol nedreim l'chol nedbaisim asher yakrivu Hashem la'olah." And the Gemara learns from that a non-Jew can also bring a sacrifice.
Okay.
But the fact that it says asher yakrivu Hashem la'olah means that all their sacrifices
Are considered
a
like that.
olah. The Gemara learns from the ish of that pasuk. Ish. As we'll see shortly. Okay, so Rava has to Rava's coming along to resolve this contradiction. What happens to a non-Jew sacrifice? Does it get eaten? So
I guess the question is, so why doesn't Rav Chama Bar Guria agree with either the logic or the pasuk?
Right. Well, Rav Chama Bar Guria is quoting a Brisa. He has, he has support. That's a good support. This is what it means. Al Menashi Yiskaper Bem Yisrael Eichlan. Al Menashi Yiskaper Bem Kayin Eichlan. Says you didn't understand the Brisa. The Brisa doesn't mean that the guy sends a sacrifice and the Kayan eats it or the Yisrael eats it. That's not what it means. It means that there's a guy that's your friend, and he knows that you need to bring an offering. You mentioned to him, you need to bring an offering. So he says, look, I'll give you this, I'll give you a sacrifice, and you'll bring it. I'll send it to the temple actually on your behalf. So because it's on the Jew's behalf, so the Jew eats it. But it wasn't the guy's sacrifice. It was.
You do such a thing?
That's what we're learning here.
There's a shlichus for a guy.
Oh no, it's not. It's not. It wouldn't be considered shlichus. It would be he gave the donation. The money came from him,
Yeah.
and the sacrifice was for his neighbor, his friend, the Jewish person, or for a Kayan.
By the way, the Svara says Oived Kachavim Liv L'Shamayim.
Yeah.
Oived Kachavim, what does he know? He knows Oived Kachavim, and Oived Kachavim, it's very common that the Kohanim and the people around there eat it.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
It's not,
I'm gonna have to go back to my Greek mythology books and see. I don't know.
In Tanya it says that Goy Kolmai David out of the Nafshem.
Right.
He does it only for his own purpose. He doesn't
Right.
have legal Shemai.
Right.
all right. I'll say those
Maybe
shoes
what the
are-
pshat is over there. Maybe the pshat is that you can't handle if someone else is getting from it. Maybe that's what people. Maybe that's how that would connect. It would be hard to say what exactly there was because they had so many types of services. You know, every tribe, every barbarian group had some other sort of worship. You know, it goes from human sacrifices all the way to I don't know, you know, cheeses or whatever. You know, we don't know what they. Okay, Masav Rav Shizvi. Rav Shizvi has a question. Elu Menachos Nikmatis v'Shireyem Lakayanim. The following Menachos, you do Kmitzan, and what's left over, the Kayanim eat. Mincha Seiv de Kechavim. And in the list is Mincha Seiv de Kechavim. There's a mincha of a non-Jew. Apparently, according to Rav Huna, that should be entirely burnt, not eaten. Rabbi Yochanan like kasha. Rabbi Yochanan says this is not a question. Ha Rabbi Yossi Aglili, ha Rabbi Akiva. It's machlekes Rabbi Yossi Aglili and Rabbi Akiva. The Tanya was taught in the Bais. Ish. The pasuk said ish mi Bais Yisrael, but it says twice ish. Matam malaymer ish. Ish. Why does it say twice ish? The Rabbi says sa'ivdik kechavim. It's coming to include a non-Jew as well. Shenoijim nedarim and nedavis ki Yisrael, that they're able to offer donations and vows, just like a Jew. Asher yachiv al Hashem la'olah.